many people have gone through maybe even um, district changes or change in their status. I just want to make sure that I have the most up-to-date information. Tanya, thank you for hitting record on this. But I've also included a link to the back channel where we can post questions, kind of direct those questions over there, and I'll be bringing those up. So just to kick us off, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sean Jackson. I am brand new to the Department of Education and the Office of Education Technology. I am designated as one of the digital learning coaches, and I'm on that team. And I've taken over responsibility for the CSIT Academy program from Laura Raganos. And so I've been teaching computer science for the past 5 years. I was co-chief information officer in Mason County Schools, and just kind of transitioned at the beginning of the summer as the K-12 computer science lead and responsible for this program. So really fortunate to be here and help out. And we are joined today by Ann Schreck. Many of you know her. She's the senior deployment manager and kind of our go-to person at Certiport for all things CSIT Academy related. So she's going to take us through some of the Academy updates and help us, feel out some of the changes that may be taking place within Certiport, but also we'll try to, over the 3 different sessions that we're providing, try to give you an idea of some of the changes that have rolled down because of the department's response to COVID-19 and different shutdown. So, Ann, go right ahead, take it away.
Okay, great. Well, good morning. It's a sad thing to not be together in person, but it's a wonderful thing, not singling anyone out, for those who are in pajamas, or as my male boss likes to tell me, he is business up top and pajamas on bottom. So, we have introduced a lot of new things during this pandemic and some interesting new fashion choices, but no judgments, because that's the advantage of being able to work from video up, right? So we're going to talk about the CSIT Academy. Many of you who are with us today have had some familiarity. You may have participated with us in the last year. As it was our inaugural year for this program in its current form, and we did a lot to build this up. We did a lot of training. We worked together to understand what we could do, how we were going to make this work. And we had a bit of an anticlimactic end by not being able to test. So some of the things that we'll talk about today will be kind of reminding us where we are in the program, how the program works, how we manage it. And I will be talking about the exams from home solution, which is the remote exam administration that the CTE office, with caveats, has adopted, so that you will be able to administer exams in whatever version of your classroom you have, whether it's in person, whether it's virtual, whether it's a hybrid, whatever it is. So that's probably the biggest thing that I know that you have questions about, is how are we going to do this? So we're going to do this first bit a little quickly. I have a lot of slides. This is my master presentation. We're not going to spend time on every single slide because that's just torture. But the reason that I want to have all of this in here is because I want to publish this in a PDF, so you have this as a reference guide. Okay, so let's start first by talking about this program. Sean, will you take the first couple of slides and just do a little bit of an introduction and explain to our group what this program is? We're going to talk about the pathways. We're going to talk about the exams that make this up. If you'd like to do a brief introduction on the CSIT Academy as it was begun, as it was handed to you, and what we know we'll need to be flexible on in this coming school year.
Yeah, no problem. And, even just yesterday, I think we got some more information about some of the pathway updates. And if
Okay.
you haven't checked that out, but those aren't coming until 21, 22. So as it stands currently, the CSIT Academy is really designed to address certifications in those pathways that you see on the screen. So computer programming, computer science, all the way down to web development and administration. And I know that some of you have been tasked with kind of a twofold job. So not only are you really focused on the computer science and information technology pathway, but you're also teaching and certifying students in what is now designated by the state as more of the business informatics and the business end of some of these certifications. So we always get questions about MOS certifications, and those are no longer a part of the CSIT Academy. And there are several reasons for that. But really what you have to think about is, now we've developed two things. One, we've developed the computer science standards for our state, and our technology standards are in the approval process right now with our Board of Education. And so if you take a look at those two things, the CSIT Academy, its goal is to make sure that those two strands of standards are addressed in both curriculum programming and then the certification programming. And MOS, because it did not meet requirements for both of those standards documents, that was removed from the CSIT Academy goals. So, and that was done a year or two ago. So that's kind of the history there. But we've seen exponential growth, and it's provided to students. The CSIT Academy is limited to students in certain pathways, and they have to be pathway concentrators. What does that mean? They have to have completed 2 credits in that pathway and be enrolled in their third. And Anne's going to get to this here in a minute, but really you have to concentrate on the whole goal of the Certiport process is learn, practice, certify. And so we take care, as far as the funding model, we take care of the practice and certify portion of it, the G-Metrics practice test, the certification exam, and the retake voucher if needed. And it's in each one of those exam bundles that are listed there, Adobe, Apple, all the way down to even the Unity certified user and programming aspect. And then we also have the deal with CompTIA, the A plus and IT fundamentals, and Certiport is not the provider for CompTIA, but I still administrate that program through different aspects. So anything that you need that fits within this program structure, reach out to me, and then I will probably reach out to Anne because she's the expert for us and she does a great job in helping us move through this. But we do have to make sure that we maintain, because this is legislatively funded, and it's very specific as far as the student has to be a concentrator and the programming has to fit within the boundaries of these pathways. And you can contact me by email, and it says contact Ben Maynard for CompTIA exams. He's helping me transition over to that. You can contact me about any exam that fits within this structure. So don't worry, I will find out the answer if you have a question. And just remember that, we still, and most of you still have vouchers that are active on your accounts. We'll be addressing some of that later on, but make sure that you're taking care to hit those students, especially those that just became seniors, just became juniors. Go back and hit those students, get them certified. Okay. And this is not about an accountability check mark. This is not about, hey, we're meeting these requirements. This is about doing what's best for our students and making sure that they have the credentials that show that they are ready to enter college and the workforce with these tools at their disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sean. I think that, a lot of the questions that we're going to have as we go through this are going to be, what do I do with the students that are still within our system that didn't get a chance to certify, and what do I do with the exams that I had assigned to me last year? And we'll touch on a lot of those things. I don't want to say that we have thought of all of the pieces that you may need support on, but we are trying to figure out how to give you the information that you need, because you're getting bombarded with a lot of information right now. So
exactly. And I just want to reiterate that just because we make a statement about it might be best to proceed in this way, we understand that every single district is going to be a little bit different in what their fall looks like. And so if you're saying, what you said doesn't necessarily make sense for my situation, then we need to talk and we can work through a plan that looks the best for you. And so the Office of Career and Technical Education has very aptly developed a plan to allow virtual certifications to count as meeting that career and technical education requirement. But we need to make sure that it works within your structure and that it works for your students and your faculty members.
Exactly. And while Sean has been kind of clarifying that for us, I've had a couple of slides up in the background. Most of these are things that you've seen before. These are what I call the value of certification. Like Sean said, this is not a checklist. This is not somebody needs to follow up and say, well, did you certify everybody? A lot of your students who may have been, I'm going to use the word exempted from needing to have that certification to complete that year or to complete that pathway. That's not the only, that's actually not the significant reason why we offer these certifications. The reason that we do is because it builds a stronger Kentucky. It builds a stronger U.S. workforce. We want people who go from our educational care into the workforce or into higher learning that have better, sharper skills and understanding, and that the side effects of earning these certifications is a conditioning of their mind and their study, and a confidence in themselves that they were given a chance to do something a lot of professionals don't do or haven't done yet. And so they enter the workforce, they enter higher learning institutions with a very different set of tools in their toolkit than someone without these opportunities. So please don't think that any of our conversation is around you having to try and make up something from last year, but to maybe give the opportunity to those students who just didn't get it because of circumstances that were beyond our control. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these value of certification, because I'm going to share this presentation with you, and a lot of these you've seen and we've discussed. So let's just do a quick review of the programs that we're working with. Microsoft Technology Associate, MTA. This is by far the most popular and in-demand program of our academy. And MTA covers a bunch of different parts of entering into the IT space, whether it is your development final destination in career or it is part of your development in just about anything else that you do. There's IT infrastructure, there's a database, and then what has been the most popular is the development. So the Java, the Python, the HTML, all of the pieces of coding that run not only our online experience, but really run our economy. And every part of our life is touched by technology. And that means that somebody is coding, somebody is maintaining, somebody is developing, and we can't grow as a state, a nation, as an economy without people who have an understanding and a skill in this. And so I've long said that if you have only 2 certifications that you could give your students out of everything that we have, my recommendation would be a coding exam and an Excel exam, because those are the 2 things that most people don't have, and they're the things that are in the most demand. You've heard me talk about the currency that we now trade on the most, and what is the most sought of in hacks or held ransom, and that's data. We need to understand the currency, the value, the protection, the analysis of data, and a lot of that comes. That's why I speak to Excel and code. So as we said before, what is covered for you by legislative funds is your certification exam for your student and a retake if necessary, and the practice test through G-Metrics, but you get to select the learning tools that are best for you in your classroom. Now, if you have questions around what you think would be beneficial for a hybrid or a remote learning virtual classroom situation, we will happily go through what we understand, and we will put you in touch with experts, and that I can make recommendations based on my own experience, but it's not for Sean or for me to tell you what learning tool to use. It's for you to decide how you want your students to learn so that they can practice and earn this certification. So if you have more questions, let's collect those, let's talk about them, but we're not going to tell you what you should be using. We will share things that we think, like, for example, what's on the screen. These are tools that or programs that are aligned to certification exams. You may find learning tools that teach general concepts of the same principles that you'll be teaching, but they don't necessarily map to the objective domains or what's covered on the test. And so the learning programs that we share with you are aligned to the same objective domains. And again, those are public facing, so you can find those at any time. If you want to vet a learning tool or software or program that we don't have or that we don't know about, just make sure you're vetting it against your objective domains. So that's our MTA. Let's talk about Swift. This was we were really excited to have what is a very fast growing language and the need for Swift developers. It's definitely working in Xcode. I have friends who are in this space and they can't deal with all of the job requests they have. There's more work than they can ever possibly do. And I've got a friend who has actually started an academy here in Utah to bring younger students into coding, specifically in Xcode, because there's such a need for developers with this particular language and skill set. Now, those of you who have done this is a tough exam. Apple has a very high standard. There have been some questions about the curriculum, how things are aligned, and the version of Xcode. I will not say that there has been feedback around, whoops, sorry, we had a little jump there. The difficulty of the exam, and we have been chatting with Apple to make sure that what they want to accomplish with this exam is what they really are accomplishing. So I will say nothing directly and say what I just said and leave it at that. How about that, Sean? Fair enough?
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that Swift is a very high demand coding language. We see, as far as the Office of Education Technology and the CSIT Academy is concerned, this is one of our pressure points. We do not have a good implementation as far as statewide for this exam, and we have now dedicated funding to increase capacity and provide a professional learning program surrounding how to teach these courses that align with this Swift exam. And so there will be more coming out about that. We're working with a an in-state partner. Many of you might be familiar with Advanced Kentucky, and they just have the infrastructure that we felt was needed to quickly execute a partnership with Apple to provide professional learning to teachers, and that we are currently working on that. I was on 2 different phone calls yesterday with Apple, and it's looking very, very good. But it's going to be fast, and we're trying to hit some of the some people that already have like device implementations first, and we're going to try to build that capacity to have Kentucky teachers train other Kentucky teachers in how to teach Apple develop with Swift. And so you're going to see a lot more coming out about that. But I mean, if you want to equip a student who says, I don't want to go to college, if you want to equip somebody to directly enter the workforce in an IT field, Swift is the way to go. And I know there are other, great certifications as well, but I'm sorry, the demand is growing for this programming language.
It really is. Yeah, thank you. And this is the tools that are aligned for the Apple Swift program are provided by Apple. So they've made it free. So they have such a need for skilled developers that they want people to have everything they need to come up and be proficient in this language. So some of the pieces of this program are device specific. For example, Swift Playground is specific to an Apple device, but the books that you use, those are PDFs, and so those can be used. We've looked at a bunch of different things about, do we mirror an environment? And this kind of speaks to what Sean was saying. So just know that there are solutions that Kentucky is looking at to make this more accessible for you, especially if you don't have a Mac environment, but you have a demand for this. So just know that those things are coming. And I would recommend taking a look at this program, again, just because the demand is so high.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate that, since this is device specific, it's proprietary to Apple devices and the Apple environment. It will be a pretty significant, it will look significant, but in the long run, it will be very insignificant for the value that it adds to your program. So if you don't currently have a Mac lab or devices at your disposal, it's going to look a little daunting, especially to you, and let's just be honest, to your administrators, to say, well, I'm going to add a lab of these computers just for, a few kids to take this. No, we're trying to ramp up. We're trying to build capacity. If Kentucky students are not equipped to be able to develop in this program, there are companies in Kentucky that are hiring other people's kids that have this certification. So at the end of the day, I want our students having these jobs in the Commonwealth or remotely working for other entities. So if we don't execute this and kind of get over the apprehension of investment, and there are lots of funding sources out there, we have to think outside the box in implementation.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we could honestly spend hours talking about all kinds of parts of this program, and none of us has the patience for that on a video call, but we will continue to talk. We will be communicating with you throughout the year. We will have regular sessions to chat with you, to let you ask questions. So don't feel like this is your only opportunity to engage with us on this program or what we'll talk about today. So the next one that I want to talk about is IC3, which should be pretty familiar to Kentucky. This was a really big program initiative, and it opened the door for the IT Academy, the Imagine Academy, and now the CSAT Academy. So you should be relatively familiar with IC3. It's a digital literacy certification, which means it helps to make sure that someone has the the minimum, if you will, knowledge to be successful in technology, not just in business and participating in the world of technology and business and all the things that we consume on a regular basis. One of the things that I talk about is we have a lot of assumptions that students are much more knowledgeable about technology, much more knowledgeable about online living, social media applications than they really have. And so they may be digital natives, but many of them are digitally illiterate. They understand how to work devices. They don't understand how devices work. And you can apply that to a bunch of different parts that make up technology. So the latest version, which is GS5, that we're talking about, touches on cloud computing, touches on social media, touches on understanding app culture. And so really making sure that students aren't missing that platform and that this is like a general studies technology certification. And so having this really gets them to have an understanding of all of the things that mean technology in our current culture. And then from there, it lets them launch into so many other places because you've built those other pieces and filled in any gaps. There are a lot of adults that have a hard time passing an IC3 certification, same sort of thing. We just got used to using things and we never necessarily got a chance to learn how it works or why it works. And so I really like the IC3 certification. It may not have the most weight, like if you compare it to a Swift, but it's really hard to get to that Swift if you're missing some of these foundations that are part of IC3 and understanding the way that technology exists in how we consume it, how we live with it, how it supports us. So next, let's move on to Adobe. So not all of the Adobe certification exams are part of your pathway. But just know that where these things cross over, where obviously you can build the technology, but you need to have an interface for people to consume the technology or to participate or engage in. And that's where particularly Adobe is putting that consumer, that customer, that user experience and interaction. And so that's why this program is also part of our CSIT Academy, because you can't create a wonderful piece of technology and not have a way for people to interact with it and to use it. And then there's the things that we understand generally, that with these sorts of certifications, you're going to have a bunch of different career opportunities that put you into lots of different expressions of this type of skill and creativity, but also require some serious technical knowledge and skill to be able to do that well. So this is also part of your, especially for those of you who are in a web or a media production as part of your computer science and information system. Okay. Also, Adobe has an education exchange which provides most of the free curriculum that you would need for what you're doing. And because we partner with Adobe on the exams, their curriculum is aligned to the objective domains as well. So that's something you don't have to map. Autodesk, where it's similar to Adobe, that this is how we can allow people to participate in technology, but it's even gone further, where Autodesk is become this really cool software for gaming, for entertainment. There's a bunch of things, and in our group, we deal mostly with the Maya and the 3ds Max. Those are the exams that are part of our pathway, and they really get into that making technology accessible or entertaining. And what this software does, I remember the old days of AutoCAD was people designing parts of a car or a bolt that went in a big machine. And so when I was given the Autodesk assignment 10 years ago as managing that program, I was not terribly thrilled, because it just was something that I had a very narrow vision of. And as I learned the other software that they had developed and what they had did, I was so impressed and really excited to learn more about Autodesk, and then seeing how it's part of our part of our technology and entertainment culture. It's really kind of exciting. Also, free software is available. The academic software of Autodesk is available for students. And then there are academic and courseware resources available for you as a teacher. We'll go into Unity next. Unity is a relatively new certification for Certiport. We announced it, I think 2 years ago, and I think it was available a year and a half ago. And this has become the most used 3D development platform. And so where this becomes really important is blending the 3D modeling that we need to do everything from, design and architecture, but into the gaming and the film. So I think you would be surprised to know how many movies that you enjoy watching have Unity or Autodesk as the engine to make it 3D and interesting to watch, which is pretty cool. And then we've got the objective domains, and you've got things available to you so that you can get a sense of what this program is and how you want to map it with some of the learning materials that are available to you.
Real quick, Joe asked a good question. He says, his question is, will the exams for Unity be ready this year? So originally we had at least 3 that they were going to offer, but they only currently have the Unity Certified User Programmer exam. It says, I believe it has been this way for a year. There are 2 missing, Unity Certified Associate and Unity Certified 3D Artist. So I'm a little confused. Was that the CSIT Academy that was limiting to just 1 exam, or was that the other 2 just weren't available yet?
So they're not available through Certiport. My understanding is that there are. I'm gonna refrain from making commentary because I don't have the update on that, but I appreciate the reminder and I'll find out. I do know that as of today, what is both approved by the Kentucky, our certification, approved certifications for our students, and what is available is the user programmer. So that's what is available today, but thank you for the reminder to check on the other pieces of their software that the plan is to have certifications for. I don't have an update on that, but I'll get one.
Right, and just thinking realistically about that, and some of the, we have to remember that everybody's plans were thrown out the window, and I know that Anne, you've shared with me that Certiport had a directive that every single person who works for us is going to be an online proctor for online exams. So I think Joe and anybody else interested, I think that's been their sole concentration is building the infrastructure for online exams, and anything else was kind of pushed to the back burner. But thank you for checking on that, Anne, because I know Joe has a great game design implementation.
He does. So yeah, so I will find out about that. I can promise you I will not hear back by the end of the week. So that I can promise you, but I will put the inquiries out and see if I can get some information on what that is, because frankly I haven't asked that question and I haven't heard any updates on that. And like Sean said, we Certiport put all of our effort into making exams from home available, and so literally every single employee was building, coordinating, or proctoring until it got to its current form, which is now that teachers can proctor their own students with support from us instead of our being the only ones to do it. So awesome. Okay, so let's revisit what Sean told us early on, which is this is our pathway. We cannot practice what we don't know. We cannot certify on that which we have not practiced or learned. So it should be pretty self-explanatory. You'd be surprised how excited people get to certify and miss some of these steps. And so we want to constantly remind ourselves that the 3 verbs for a successful program is learn, practice, certify. And they start in that order, but they won't necessarily stay in that order. So if you are If you are learning and you have someone practice and they have not been able to take a knowledge and demonstrate it as a skill, we go back to learn, and then we go back to practice. We don't just carry on to certify. And if we get to certify and a student is not able to achieve their certification on the first attempt, we go back to learn and we go back to practice. So just know that these are your verbs, these are the things, these are our action steps to have a successful program. And as we mentioned before, we are not going to dictate to you what your learning tools are. So you get to pick what works best for your classroom, for your students, for your program. The good news is that most of the learning products that we would recommend fit really beautifully into a hybrid or a virtual classroom. And a lot of it will depend on the maturity and the aptitude of your students. If they are comfortable reading in an ebook and then practicing, or if they need more hands-on, or one of the reasons that I like LearnKey is because it's video-based, and that goes where our students live, right? If you don't know something, they YouTube it, they find a video and they do it. And so LearnKey kind of answers that model of let's do some learning, let's see how someone else does it, let's see how someone else explains it, and to help our students kind of go where they live. So we're going to spend just a little bit of time talking about geometrics, because I've got another session tomorrow. We'll go into it a little bit more because I want to make sure we have some time to talk about exams from home and some of those things. So again, geometrics is not meant to replace learning. It is meant to accompany learning, to help the learning and the knowledge that your students are gaining to be put into a skill that can be measured. This is particularly important for the exams that are live in the app. Those of you who participated in the Microsoft Office program knew that that was a live in the app, meaning that the student had to perform a task in the application that was captured by the test engine. And we have something similar for AUTODESK and for Adobe. So live in the app is more common, and we're seeing more of our partners want that experience versus just a simple linear answer the question, fill in the blank. Even the Apple test is kind of a hybrid. I am by no means a developer, but I wanted to take that test so I had an understanding of what it would be like and to help you answer your questions on it. And it had a bunch of different ways that it was trying to get at whether or not I had an understanding, which I did not, but it was, not just does this match this thing, it was what am I missing in this code string? And if I go back and fix this thing, what does it break? And if I have this set of coding, does it match this result? And so what we're seeing more and more is we need to make sure that people not only have knowledge, but they have the skill. And so geometrics is meant to, one, simulate the test environment to help manage test anxiety and to prepare students for test day. It's also meant to give them a chance to take the learning and the knowledge and put it into a skill that can be measured, or at least be able to demonstrate their knowledge in a way that it can be measured. But one of the things that I think is the most important about geometrics is that every project, every bell ringer, anything that a student does in geometrics, they get a score report. And it's broken down by objective domain, just like the certification exam, so that students are never surprised about their readiness to take a certification test. And they have all of these opportunities to say, okay, well, it looks like I'm still missing this concept after, doing these many things in geometrics. What I can see in common is I'm still not getting the mastery of this particular objective domain. And so they can be prepared to take a test, a certification test, with confidence. I think the biggest disservice we can do is put a student in front of a certification test where you, the teacher, and they, the student, have no real idea if they're going to pass it. And so we want someone to feel that they have the confidence and the mastery to be able to take a certification test and walk out the other side with a certification or a score report that helps them say, oh, okay, I missed it just by this, and here's how I can target my remediation and be prepared. So, so geometrics is meant to help us be ready to certify, but have the confidence that we're ready to certify. Okay. Sean, have we had any questions that have popped up while I've been chatting away?
Um, Not really. Laura Moore did ask, and I was trying to answer that right now. Are those free downloads that you mentioned from Autodesk, are they tied to voucher purchases from Certiport? And it should be the answer is no, because on their website, Autodesk does not specifically mention that you have to have a voucher code to get the software, but it does provide some directions, and I'm putting that in the link right now, some directions on how to access. The example that I'm going to give is the Fusion 360, and it just says you have to do it takes you step by step. So I'm posting that document there. Um, Got some people that are still interested in the Swift programming. Brad Goodall, we are implementing the Amazon Future Engineer program and using adhesive. We will use this for CS Intro to Programming. We will use Python. It's our first year. Anyone else using Amazon Future Engineer and adhesive? Angela says she uses adhesive, everyone. I also used adhesive and did Intro to Python. This last school year, we were in Amazon Future Engineer School, and it's really, really good. Is it specifically aligned to the MTA Python exam? The answer is no. However, with some additional supports, some additional walkthroughs, I do believe that a student that takes that Intro to Python course would have a good ability to pass that certification exam. But I encourage you, if you've not taken that exam that you're asking about looking at, take it this week. We have signups available. Walk through the online proctoring process, just to experience what a student sees on their end. So I took one yesterday, and I passed the exam. It was a very good experience. Yay! Thank you. Yeah. So now I'm a Microsoft certified educator. I was just doing it to test it out. So take advantage of this process because it will help you see what it looks like. And then David asked another question about teachers will be able to proctor their students remotely. Can you provide more info about this process? We can provide a little bit today, but I really would encourage you to make sure that you participate in all of our sessions, because some of our sessions we will be able to go into a little bit more detail. And Tanya has included. Yep, there you go. Tanya has included the certification lab schedule in the chat box. Thank you, Tanya. But again, I think it was in the last week and a half, the Office of Career and Technical Education decided that this was going to be a valid way to certify. So more is being revealed as we go through it. And I am going to try to craft something along with input from CTE to make sure that the process still works for us. But Anne, you've already brought up the flexibility exams from home screen. Is there anything you want to take us through?
Yeah, so I'm going to forego going through our Compass because I think most of us are familiar with Compass. If you're not, let's chat about it. But let's take the last few minutes that we have and talk a little bit about exams from home. And Kentucky didn't get a chance to participate in this in the spring. So unfortunately, there's a little bit that I need to catch you up on. But I would encourage you to go to the exams from home page, which is certiport.com/EFH. And this will show you some of the details. I've got a couple of things that I want you to understand. The most important piece for you to understand about this is that you will be logging into a virtual machine that we have created expressly for testing. That means that if you're taking a LIDA, a Live in the Application exam, the software that you need will be installed on that virtual machine. So all of that setup, you don't have to worry about, but you have to have a compatible device. This will not work on a tablet. This will not work on a phone. You need to have a computer to access the testing link. and to be able to do what you need to do. And this goes for both you, the teacher, as the proctor, you, the teacher, as a test candidate, and your students as test candidates. Okay, so be aware of that. You will need a decent, and by decent, I mean, you got to have a strong internet connection, because there's a lot that's being transmitted between your device, the virtual machine, the testing server, the test candidate. So you need to have a strong internet connection.
The recommendation is that it's at least 5 megabit connection down. So 5 megabits down. So, I know that until very recently, all I could get was, and I'm not going to say the provider, but my provider was only able to offer me 1.3 down. Okay, that would not be sufficient. I wouldn't recommend anybody to try to do anything on 1.3 megs. Don't worry, I got another provider now. We have that availability out here on the farm, so it's so much better. But it is problematic because wireless speeds vary greatly. So, James, are you asking if I had dial up? Well, I had Windstream. So if anybody else out there has great Windstream, they must live near they must live near Lexington. So that's the only place they're really running fiber right now. But so again, wireless implementation. So a lot of your wireless hotspot providers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, several of those, they do meet those requirements, but again, it's case by case. Okay, so I would not say that yes, yes, and Exams from Home will work with Chromebooks. It is listed as an approved device on the list. We're running out of time, but hey, we can finish up and stick here for just a couple more minutes. I know I'm going to.
So the thing I know that a lot of you need to jump off. So I want to take the time to explain to you that the Exams from Home solution, the disadvantage to your not being part of it before was that you didn't get a chance to learn with us. The advantage of your not being a part of it before was that you get this really cool, smooth, streamlined thing, and you get to take advantage of a really stable, really remarkable, really cool system. Be aware that you, as the teacher, will be proctoring these exams, remotely administering these exams. So unless it is a special one-off case, Certiport has been training the teachers to be the proctors, because frankly, all of the Certiport employees proctoring, we didn't have enough people or enough hours in the day to support the people who needed to do it. So we are now handing this to you, so you will get to proctor your own students using this platform. And we can host accommodation sessions if those are applied for properly. We have the AUTODESK, we have all of the different systems that you need. So just be aware that this is a wonderful solution that we will have. Now there are some pieces that Sean's going to continue to educate us on as it comes from the KDE, but I would encourage you to go to Certiport.com, Exams from Home, and check this out. And even if you just go to Certiport.com, there's a banner at the top. But in order to schedule a lot of these exams, you need to be an exam administrator or proctor for your school. So in Kentucky, everybody should be that's part of this program. If you are not, go to Certiport.com, log in. If you do not see organization administrator and proctor in that drop-down box when you first log in, it says welcome in your name, then let us know and let's fix that for you. Okay? So we will be doing more communication about Exams from Home and more training about Exams from Home, but just be aware that is a program that we can now use to help us with our hybrid and virtual classrooms.
Right. Thank you. And as we're kind of wrapping everything up, go ahead. Yeah, we've still got people posting some questions. I'm going to be following up on this document that I shared with everybody, the back channel. I'm going to be following up on that. So anything that we didn't get to answer immediately or in person, I'm going to be following up on that. If something, I hate it when you attend a session and you don't think about a question until like 6 hours later. You're like, oh man, we needed to ask this. But rest assured that we're still going to have more opportunities. Just look at the session matrix that Tanya shared with you. More opportunities to connect about computer science and information technology specific items. And Ann and I are already in the development phase of kind of hosting a webinar. And just from these 3 sessions, our goal is to, pick out the hot button issues, the hot button items, and that's what our webinar is going to be directed to help mitigate. And I think exams from home is going to be, it could be the only thing we talk about. It could be just one of many things we talk about. So stay tuned. And one of our big things is that we know how hard everybody's worked. We know how hard everybody's worked. I was guys, I was teaching, and Doyle, we have not scheduled that, but if you'll fill out the form, the Connect With Me form that I posted on our back channel, make sure that I have your email, and I will be sending out updates about that. And thank you. I'm going to finish up with everybody. Yes, thank you for joining us. I know you have to go.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye. But I will be connecting with all of you and just making sure that I get as much information from you as possible, what you might need. And so, okay. And it's 11:55. We've gone a few minutes over. I just want to thank you all for joining us, and make sure that you, if you haven't signed up to try out an exam from home in these days that we're offering it as our online lab, go ahead and do that. And everybody, thanks for joining us. And just keep posting those questions on that back channel, and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay? But please reach out if you need anything. I hope everybody has a great day.